Hey everyone, today I'm sharing with you this fun unboxing and swatching of these Polish Aquarius watercolors and a couple of house cleaning things. First off, you can enjoy the photos of this beautiful set, but what I wanted to say is I have a new online class. Registration is closing on Monday, April 8th. It will reopen after Easter, but then it will be full price. So if you want it for the special introductory price, which is $39, please sign in now or till Monday, because that's when that offer ends. One last detail before we get started is I'm going to show you here swatching of 36 colors that I was sent, but these are not the colors that come in the 36 set, which I will link you to. So make sure you check everything so you're not surprised or disappointed. Now let's get on with the review. Hey everyone, today I want to share with you this beautiful set of watercolors. These are Aquarius and they are Polish. I showed a few of these in a previous video and I apologized there, and I'm going to apologize again. These paints are not so easy to get. I will link you to anything and anywhere I can find, but I've only seen a couple of Polish stores that carry them, and I think there's also a store in Finland that is planning on stocking them. I think I will link you to everything, but if you can't get your hands on these, I do apologize, but I do want to show you these because I think they're beautiful. And yeah, if you come across, if you're in Poland and you're walking around the streets of Krakow, then maybe you can get your hands on it. But anyway, so this was sent to me, but I didn't get paid to say anything. The company didn't even ask me to make a video or anything like that. So all the opinions here are my own. I'm not getting anything from this video except sharing this beautiful set. Now, as I said, yes, these are not so easy to find. I hope that the company grows and that these will be easier to find in you know, other places and other stores. I want to show you first the range. So I received this beautiful card. I will show, insert in the video now or before something, a better lit overview of these, but this is the color range and these are hand painted. And I have to say, this is such beautiful presentation. I think the color range is absolutely fantastic. I can see the pigments are very traditional. Most of this is single pigment and the colors look amazing. Now the you get all the different, you know, characteristics and qualities of watercolors, and these are all according to this. They say pigments light fastness rating according to blue wool scale. In multi-pigment paint, last fastness is determined by the least light fast pigment, but everything is either 8 or 7. So 8 is very light fast, will remain unchanged for 200 plus years, and then 7 will remain unchanged for 100 to 200 years. So your grandchildren's grandchildren will be able to enjoy these, and I think that's fantastic. That's another reason I want to share these with you, because I think they are, you know, they have a place in people's collection. And this is the 36 full pan set, and I just think it's just, you know, it's such a pretty thing. This would be such a beautiful gift if you have a watercolor artist slash paint collector in your life. I just think this would make such a beautiful gift. I mean, I know that myself, I was very excited to get it, and I would be very excited to receive this from a loved one. I also got this brush, like a quill brush, which also looks very attractive. And I'm going to open these and swatch them so you can see what comes in the set. From looking at it, you know, the great thing is that they do come with this wrapping, and the color is painted on the wrapping, and the wrapping is watercolor paper. So there is no real question to how the colors look, because you can obviously see it. And I think it's a beautiful selection of colors. I really appreciate that there are a few unusual colors here, like lavender, for example, which I'm sure is beautiful. I love purple, so I'm very happy to have it. There's also buff titanium here, which I'm also happy about. I don't need white, and buff titanium I find is a very useful color. There are a lot of neutrals here, but I am getting I'm coming in, like, I'm becoming more a fan of neutral colors, and they do seem lovely. A lot of browns, I'm gonna say it. The blues look beautiful, reds and pinks. I could probably use another pink. I do have a beautiful, beautiful pink that was sent to me with the first batch that I received. The yellows seem like a good range, a few nice greens. So I would say the color selection here is really great. Probably every artist would tweak a palette to suit their own taste and style, but I think for a set this is really well balanced, and yeah, good choice of colors. I also really love the box. It's, you know, it's unique. I have so many watercolors, and I have tins, and I have plastic boxes, but there's something about a beautifully made, this rounded wooden box that to me really appeals to me, and it makes me feel like these are special. So I haven't painted with these long. With this set, obviously it's new, so I can't tell you that these are the best paints that I have, but I can definitely, this gives me that warm fuzzy feeling of you know, having beautiful art supplies that are made with attention and care. And I think that's something that we should aspire to. So I'm going to open these up and I'm going to swatch them for you. And hopefully if you enjoyed this video, you will consider subscribing and hitting that bell. I share every month my monthly favorites, so probably with time, the more I use this set, you can see if I include it in those videos. So I'm gonna start the tedious job of opening them without trying not to ruin the packaging. All the details on each paint is written on the packaging, as well as the nice swap. The one thing that is a bit, you know, could be improved, but this is with several companies, it's the same issue, is that the pen itself doesn't say what color it is, and then, you know, you have to do some guesswork. But so pretty. Yeah, but that's how it is. So I'm going to keep those and open everything, and you can see it all in action. Before I get into the swatching, I just wanted to give you a good look of all the colors in the range. You can pause the image and take a closer look if there's a particular color you're interested in. But all in all, the range seems beautiful, and you have tons of options. Some of the colors are mixtures of 2 or 3 or 4 pigments, kind of standard and very comparable to other sets that I've seen, but most of these are single pigments with kind of classical choices and names that are easy to follow. So ultramarine blue is ultramarine blue, and for the most part that's the impression that I got, which is helpful because some brands will name classical colors in all kinds of names, and you'll have to go investigate. So here we are in the neutrals section. And again, I want to mention, like I said in the beginning, if you're looking at the 36 set, which I will link you to, that set has a different color range and actually probably a better rounded selection than the one I got. Now, I'm not unhappy because I feel like I got some more unusual colors that I'm always interested in. I'm at the point where I have a lot of paints, so if I can find a special mixture, a special color in a particular brand, then that's kind of what I'm most curious about. And so I just want to mention that again, in case you're picking up the 36 set, you know, it doesn't have the colors that I'm showing here. Some of them are in the set, but not all. And then, of course, that set has some colors that I don't have. So let's get started. The first one is Buff Titanium, and it's a really, really nice one. I'm very happy with it. Nothing to say, quite comparable to the other ones that I have from, I think I have the Daniel Smith one, and this one performs well, at least for now. I haven't used it enough to give my final verdict. Next up, the yellows are really beautiful. The lemon yellow, and then the second one is Aquarius Yellow, which is PY 168. Then we have Hansa Yellow Medium, a very classic color that is great to have in a set. And then actually a really nice choice of yellow to include here is the Nickel Azo Yellow, which is more of like an earthy yellow. And I use that a lot in florals when I paint and landscapes. To me, I think I almost like it a bit more than Quinacridone Gold. Not sure why, but I do. So I really like that color. And this one is a beautiful one. It's PY 150, the pigment, if you're interested. Next up, we have Scarlett Lake, which is this kind of... it's always a color that I struggle to describe. I guess it's like a bit of salmon, sorry, the L is silent for some reason, color, which is beautiful. I adore this color, and it's a color that I always enjoy to have in my palettes. The pigment is PR 188. Then next up is a very, very intense red. This is Aquarius Red with PR 214. And you can get quite a heavy application of it. It's not the type of color I use a lot, and when I do use such an intense red, I prefer mine to be just a little bit more kind of post-box red, but this is a beautiful color, and when you add a lot of water to it, you get this very nice translucent kind of pinkish color. Next is Anthraquinone Red. Sorry if I butchered that. So this is more of like, you know, a little bit more of a bluish red. I'm more into the pinks. What can I say? Reds are not my favorite color. I prefer to use the really, really orangey ones or pinks. So this color is beautiful, but probably one I will use less. Next up, we have Permanent Alizarin Crimson, and I really like this version of it. It's kind of on the pinkish side. When it's diluted, it's a lovely pink and beautifully translucent. And now we're moving on to my must-have Magenta. I would probably add to this palette Quinacridone Rose, but this color is also beautiful. I think in the Aquarius range, I think the Quinacridone Red is what I would consider a Quinacridone Rose. So each company names their shades sometimes a bit differently. You have to just investigate how the pigment looks. You know, the same pigment can look in many different ways. So moving on, I was really, really happy that I was sent these next three colors, which I think don't come in the like ready-made 36 full pan set. So this is Cobalt Violet Light, and if you're familiar with my history with watercolors, this is one of the colors that I always hunt for, and my current favorite is the Winsor & Newton one because I prefer to use my paints dry and re-wet them. And what I have found with Daniel Smith's version, for example, is that it's very, very, very difficult to re-wet it, and it's very anemic. So I kind of gave up on that one, and I moved on to the Winsor & Newton one. I have to say this one is beautiful. Usually with the cobalt violets, they need a little bit of love. You need to, fondle them a little bit in the pan to get them going if you're using them dry. But this one, once you kind of give it a little bit of some tender love and care, it is gorgeous. It has that gorgeous granulation, and I absolutely love it. And I think for the price, this is a fantastic option. Next is Cobalt Violet Deep. I'm trying to keep up with myself, but I have so much to say. Cobalt Violet Deep is just a more bluish purple. This is beautiful. It has beautiful granulation. I have the M gram one, and they perform, I would say, very similarly, at least by swatching again. This is not my final judgment. The lavender, or lavenda, as they call it, is a mixture of 3 pigments, and it's lovely. It's very, very opaque, and it's more on the bluish side. I haven't compared it, one against the next with the Daniel Smith lavender. It seems very pretty. And next is Prussian Blue, which is a beautiful blue, but not one I use a lot. So I actually tweaked my palette once I was done swatching these, and Prussian Blue was sadly left outside of the final cut because I had already 10 full pans from this brand. And one of the disadvantages of this box is that other pans, at least the ones that I have from White Nights, for example, they don't fit this box as snugly as these ones do. The White Night pans are actually a little bit smaller, so they do fit, but then there's a little bit of a space. So moving on to the blues. The blues that I got are Cobalt Blue is the top one, and it's lovely. It's granulating. It's a beautiful, beautiful color. It is one of the more expensive pigments, so I definitely think, this brand is already affordable, but the more expensive pigments are even a better deal than the other ones. And Cobalt Blue is another great example. Then the second one is Cobalt Saline Blue, Choline Blue, sorry. The pigment is PB35. It's a little bit lighter and a little bit more yellow than the Cobalt Blue. It's beautiful. And then the third one is Cobalt Cerulean Blue, which is PB36. Again, granulating color. All 3 are semi-opaque or semi-transparent, depending how you want to see it. I don't think 3 are needed. They're, especially the second, the last 2 are quite similar. I would probably stick with a more yellowish one and move the Cobalt Cerulean Blue out, perhaps. I did add my Ultramarine Blue because to me that's really a must color in any palette. Okay, after those 3 blues, I'm sorry, I had to really slow this down because I'm talking a lot. The one turquoise that I got in the set is Cobalt Turquoise. That's PB36 again, and it is a beautiful, beautiful turquoise. It's granulating, it's intense. I love it. Of course, I added my Cobalt Teal. I actually got before a pan of Cobalt Teal from this brand, and I put it in the palette because that's a must for me. Okay, now for the greens. Now I have to say the selection of greens that I have is probably quite suitable to my style. Hooker's Green is the first green. That's not a color I feel like I need in a palette. And then, it's a nice one. It's a mixture of 2 pigments, but I'm just not a big fan of these types of greens. And if I have a nice selection of yellow and blues, I can pretty much mix whichever green I want. The next is Aquarius Green, which is a mixture of 3 pigments, and I like it. It's kind of more muted, a little bit kind of a bluish green. It's a nice green, and I'll have to, play with the palette and see if I enjoy it. Then we have three very kind of gold yellowish colors. And I had a hard time trying to decide which one is my favorite. You can kind of see the differences on the screen. All three are made from 4 pigments, and in other brands it's usually like Sennelier and Schmincke. They have similar colors with 2 pigments, and then the green gold by Daniel Smith is 3 pigments. So you could probably find a version that has less pigments in them. I like all 3 of them. This is the type of green that I really like. But I think I will just have to use them and see which one is, the one that I prefer the most. I'll just tell you the names of these 3 greens. So the first one, which is on the bottom row on the left side of the screen, is Olive Green Light. And yeah, it's exactly as it's described. And then the top one on this row is Deep Green Gold, and it is quite a light color. Even when it's thickly applied, it's quite light. I think the olive green light might be a little bit more versatile, but I'll have to play with some mixes. And then the third one is Olive Green Deep, which is beautiful and has an interesting granulation. Okay, we're moving on to neutrals, and the first 2 are they look kind of similar on screen, but I think I actually made a mistake. So sorry about that. You see, now I'm starting to realize it. I accidentally threw away one of the wrappers, and I got the colors a little bit mixed up. So sorry about that. I'm going to try and fix it. Here I'm starting to, what's going on? And trying to find a solution. But let's talk about, hopefully, I will fix it, but I can tell you about the colors. So for now, ignore the upper 2 of those neutrals, and let's just move on to the one I'm painting right now, which is English Red Deep, and it is PR 102, semi-transparent, and it's pretty. It's one of those super intense colors that I need to be careful as I use them, but it is pretty. What can I say? So the next one I really like. This is Caput Mortuum, and just the name gives it that extra flair of drama. It's a beautifully granulating color. I really like it. This is the type of neutral or dark colors that I love to use. And this one is very intense, but it is still quite transparent and has that granulation. I love it. Next up is Hematite. This one is also PR 102, and all 3 of these, so you can see how one pigment can have many different looks. And this one is opaque, but again, of course, if you use more water, it's more transparent, and it dries not as red as it's looking now on screen. I like it in the lighter washes. Again, it's a bit brown. Next up, we have Cyprus Raw Umber. I'm sorry, it's a little bit off screen. To me, it's kind of one of those bit boring umber colors. I don't know. It's not doing a lot for me. But again, some colors are really great when they are mixed with others. And then on their own, they're not necessarily so charming. There we go. So I'm lifting the color that I accidentally put there, and now I'm going to fill it in with the correct color, which is Italian Burnt Sienna. It was very easy to find this mistake because of the wrappers and the fact that they are painted on. So I noticed very fast that it's not the right color. Also, it didn't really look like burnt sienna. So this burnt sienna, it has a bit of granulation and I like it, but it's probably not as intense as some other ones are. So let's move on to the next page. And here I'm going again into the neutrals, and I gotta say I really love the selection that I got. Again, these are different than the 36 set that you can find, but you know, we can just talk about these colors, and if you do have access, you can just pick out single pans, of course. So the top one is Cyprus Burnt Umber. It's nice. It's not the type of color that I'm excited about. What I do like is their Van Dyke Brown. It's more on the grayish side, and it has this really nice granulation. I really, really like it. Next up is a color that I really can't pronounce. If you're familiar with Old Holland, they're another brand of watercolors. They also have their own colors, like I guess signature colors, or colors that they named by some name that probably means something to someone from that country. So this is Beige Gray. I'm really sorry if you speak Polish and you were just cringing. I do apologize, but this kind of gives me the vibe of Moonglow, and it has 3 pigments, and yeah, it's a really, really beautiful, as you can see, kind of a purplish gray. Then we have Perline Green, really, really great. And then Neutral Tint. I like their version, even though it has black in it. I really like it. And then the last one is Aquarius Black, which is kind of like Lunar Black from Daniel Smith, and it is gorgeous. Super, super granulating. You can see that if you water it down, that granulation really, really shows. And now I'm just going to just quickly swatch a few of the colors that I had before, that I received before. So we have Ultramarine Blue. It's a beautiful Ultramarine Blue. We have Cobalt Teal. Probably I have a couple of brands that are just a little bit more potent, but I also tend to use Cobalt Teal with caution, because it's just one of those colors that take over, and I have found myself many times trying to kind of, you know, keep it calmer. And then we have that cherry color that is just beautiful. It's kind of like a quinacridone coral type of color. And then this mineral violet, which is similar to the imperial violet from Daniel Smith, just a beautiful purple with blue granulation. And then I have shadow violet, which is another mixture of pigments that is really attractive in my opinion. And then the last one I'm swatching is Quinacridone Gold, I think. And I just wanted to help myself decide which ones I wanted to include in this set. So I'm just going to go back to those 2 colors that were left behind. The first one is Venetian Yellow Earth. You can see it's a pretty color, nothing to say about it, but it's just a little bit too light. So I stayed with the Natural Sienna Monte Amiata, which when you add a lot of water to it, it's quite similar to the Venetian Yellow Earth. And here is a little glimpse at my curated palette. So I switched some of the shades around and then added some from the ones I had before. And of course, swatch them in my journal, because that's what makes me happy. I hope you enjoyed this video. Have a wonderful day. Bye.